They celebrated when she had no child. They passed her in the corridor of her own home like she was part of the furniture. They served her food last. They called her Barren at naming ceremonies while she sat at the same table and smiled. They brought a younger woman into her marriage, into her kitchen, into the bedroom down the hall, and then they waited for her to disappear quietly. She almost did. One night, in the kitchen of the house she had spent 9 years building with her hands, her prayers, and her pain, she sat on the floor with a bottle of sleeping tablets. The cap was already off. The pills were already in her palm. The compound was silent. Everyone was asleep. Nobody knew she was sitting there, counting. That night, the woman they had already buried in their minds almost buried herself for real. But she didn't. And what happened after she put those pills back in the bottle, what God did for the woman they forgot to bury, is the reason I'm telling this story today. Her name is Ngozi. She was a first wife. She had no child for 9 years. She was humiliated, replaced, starved of dignity, and pushed to the edge of her own life. But before I tell you what happened, if you are not yet subscribed to Voclain Stories, do that right now. Hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because this is the kind of story we bring you every single week, and you do not want to miss what is coming after this one. Now, let me take you back to where this all began. Ngozi Obi was 23 on her wedding day. So happy she could not stop laughing. During the wine carrying, she laughed so hard her headgear tilted sideways. Her husband walked over and straightened it, gentle, unhurried, while the whole crowd roared. That moment, that small, easy moment, that is the image she would reach for on her worst nights. Her husband's name was Chibuike, building contractor in Onitsha. Quiet, steady, honest. Ngozi ran a fabric and lace business. She was sharp, warm, the kind of woman who made every room easier to breathe in. Together, they were not rich, but they were content. And in those early years, content felt like more than enough. The first year passed without a pregnancy. They were not worried. The second year came, still nothing. And the visits started. Chibuike's mother arrived more frequently. Not to cause trouble, not yet. Just to sit. To let her eyes settle, always on Ngozi's stomach. His aunties appeared with proverbs wrapped in politeness. A pot that refuses to hold water must be replaced. Said with a smile. Said while asking for more soup. Chibuike held Ngozi's hand at night and said, "Don't worry, God is not sleeping." She believed him because she believed in him. But here is the thing about a man who says God is not sleeping. You need to watch what he does when the pressure arrives. Because what a man says in the warmth of the bedroom and what he does when his family is standing in the parlor, those are sometimes two completely different things. Ngozi was about to find out which kind of man she had married. By year 3, the prayers had become harder to pray. She had tried the herbs in brown paper wrapping from the market woman. She visited 2 hospitals. Both told her everything looked fine. She fasted. She prayed through nights until her voice gave out. She sat in church vigils with other women carrying the same sadness. But it was not the hospitals or the herbs wearing her down. It was the people. Chibuike's mother stopped using her name at family gatherings. She said, "the wife," in a tone with a clock inside it. And Chibuike, the man who had straightened her headgear, who had said God was not sleeping, began to shift. He stopped reaching for her hand in public. He took his mother's calls from another room. He stopped saying, "God is not sleeping." The silence between them grew 1 centimeter at a time, the way rot moves through wood, invisible until the floor gives way. One evening, Ngozi said, "Chibuike, what is happening in your mind?" He was quiet for a long time. Then, "Nothing. I am just tired." He was not tired of work. They both knew it. 2 weeks later, his uncle came to the house with another man Ngozi had never seen before, and something in her stomach dropped the moment she saw their faces. Uncle Obiora had the talent of making terrible things sound like reasonable arrangements. He sat down, drank his water, and spoke without hesitation. He said the family had discussed the situation. He said Chibuike was a man with a lineage. He said 5 years was a long time. He said no one was blaming Ngozi. She had been a good wife, let it be known. But a decision had been made. Chibuike would take a second wife. Ngozi would remain. Her position would not change. All of this delivered in the flat tone of a building schedule. Practical. Done. Ngozi sat across from them. She did not cry. She did not stand. She looked at her husband. He was in the corner of the room. She waited for him to look up, to say one word, one gesture, just something. He did not look up. She walked to her room and locked the door. She sat on the edge of the bed, palms pressed to her thighs, body shaking but face completely dry. Then she heard Uncle Obiora laugh at something from the other side of the door. The sound of it filled her room like smoke. She reached under the bed, pulled out her Bible, and held it against her chest. She did not open it. She just held it. And in that quiet, sealed moment, she decided to stay, to endure, to trust the God she had been talking to every night for 5 years. It was the bravest decision she would ever make, and it would cost her almost everything before it paid. The second wife arrived 3 months later. Her name was Adeze, 21 years old, 3 large bags, a flat-screen television still in its box. The confidence of a young woman who had been told since birth that she was the solution to someone else's problem. She was pregnant within 4 months. When the pregnancy was confirmed, the compound transformed overnight. Relatives from 2 towns, music, prayers. Mama Chibuike cooked a pot of stew that fed everyone for 4 days. The compound was louder and more alive than it had been since Ngozi's wedding. Ngozi stayed in her room. She heard everything through the wall, every laugh, every prayer. Then she came out and continued her life, because what else do you do? Adeze had a girl, healthy, loud, beautiful. The celebration was real, though slightly quieter than hoped, because what everyone truly wanted was a boy. But a child was a child. Adeze had proven her point. The cruelty did not begin loudly. It never does. She called Ngozi senior wife, with a smile shaped like a compliment and felt like a blade. She rearranged the kitchen, and when Ngozi asked about it, said brightly, "Oh, Chibuike said I should manage the kitchen now. Did he not tell you?" He had not told Ngozi. At family gatherings, the seating changed. Adeze beside Chibuike, Ngozi across the room. Not expelled, just repositioned. Like furniture moved to make space for something newer. Then Adeze got pregnant again. A second girl, then a third. And here is the part nobody expects. Adeze's power in that compound did not reduce with each daughter. It grew. Because she was producing, because every child, even a girl, was proof that her body worked in ways Ngozi's appeared not to. The daughters were weapons, not because they were girls, but because they existed. And Ngozi's womb, as far as anyone could see, did not. Mama Chibuike stopped greeting Ngozi when she entered a room. Not with hostility, just with absence. Ngozi would walk in, say good morning, and the woman would continue her conversation with Adeze without turning her head. Ngozi's trading capital from Chibuike stopped. When she raised it, she was told to speak to Adeze about home finances. When she spoke to Adeze, she was told it would be raised with Chibuike. The money never came. Her fabric business, built with her own hands before she ever married this man, died quietly from lack of water. She was in the house, she was eating in the house, she was sleeping in the house, but she had been erased from inside her own life. And some days, Ngozi would look in the mirror and struggle to recognize the woman looking back. By year 7, she had become a ghost in a house she helped build. And when you ignore a ghost long enough, when you look through them long enough, some of them decide to stop haunting altogether. A neighbor's naming ceremony, 3 compounds away. Ngozi sat at a table with 4 women, smile practiced and fixed in place. Adeze arrived late, 3rd daughter on her back, 4th pregnancy visible. She sat across from Ngozi, accepted food, and then the newborn was passed around the table and landed in Ngozi's arms. Adeze looked across and said, loudly, casually, "Ah, look at this baby. See how she holds him. 8 years. 8 years this woman has been sitting at other people's tables, holding other people's babies. I think God sent her specifically to admire what she cannot have." The table went still. 2 women looked away. One laughed uncomfortably. One looked directly at Ngozi with pity, the specific suffocating kind that says, "I see your humiliation, and I am grateful it is yours and not mine." Ngozi placed the baby back in its mother's arms, stood up, excused herself quietly, and walked home with legs that were not fully cooperating. At home, she sat on her bed and did not cry. She had moved past crying. She counted years, hospitals, herbs, fasts, prayer nights. She counted everything she had given and then looked at what had been returned. She had tried everything available to her: 3 hospitals, brown paper herbs, extended fasting. She had traveled 3 towns to a prayer house where a woman called Mama Blessing prayed specifically for women carrying this sadness. Ngozi sat with 9 others and wept through 3 hours of prayer. Not because she was certain it was working, but because it was the first time in months someone had spoken about her womb as though it still had a future. She went home. She waited. Nothing happened. She never sought a babalawo, never went near juju. The God she cried to every night deserved her whole trust or none. So she kept trusting, and the years kept passing, and she kept shrinking. By year 8, she had lost 12 kilograms. The housegirl once asked quietly if she was sick. She was not sick. She was disappearing. The night after that naming ceremony, she went to the kitchen, very late, when the compound was still. She found the bottle of sleeping tablets. She sat on the floor. She opened the bottle. She counted the pills into her palm, and she sat there, very still, for a long time. She sat on that floor until 4:47 in the morning. She knew the time because the kitchen clock ticked loudly, and she had been counting it for 2 hours without meaning to. What kept her was not a vision, not a voice. a memory. She remembered herself at 23, laughing on her wedding day until her headgear fell. She remembered who she was before this house had spent years reducing her. She remembered her mother, dead since Ngozi was 16, who in her final weeks had said, "Ngozi, God does not waste good people. He tests them longer, and the longer the test, the bigger what is coming. Don't you dare leave before the answer arrives." She put the pills back. She put the bottle down. When morning came through the window, she stood up, went to her room, washed her face, and called her sister. Uchenna answered immediately. Ngozi said nothing for several seconds. Then, "I need to come to you." Uchenna did not ask a single question. She said, "Come today." Ngozi packed one bag, left a note, "I need time. I am safe." Walked out before Adeze's children woke. Did not look back at the house, not once. On the bus to Orca, she leaned against the window and closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she was just a woman on a bus, breathing. She did not know what was waiting in Enugu. She did not know that what was about to be discovered there would reframe every single year of pain she had endured. Uchenna did not offer pity. She offered a doctor's appointment. The specialist had half-moon glasses and the calm of a man who understood that frightened women needed to be spoken to like people, not problems. He ran tests no one had run before. On the fourth day, Ngozi sat across from him and told herself, "Whatever he says, I will not fall apart. I am finished with falling apart." He said, "Mrs. Obi, you have a partial blockage in your left fallopian tube from an old infection that was never properly identified or cleared. Your right tube is completely healthy. Your uterus is healthy. Your hormones are normal. This is treatable. There is no medical reason you cannot carry a pregnancy." Ngozi said, "Say that again?" He said it again. 8 years. 8 years of herbs and fasts and prayer houses and a kitchen floor at 4:47 in the morning. 8 years of being called barren, cursed, used up. 8 years of a husband staring at flaws. And the answer was a blocked tube. One tube. Treatable. Findable. Years ago by the right doctor with the right tests, if anyone had ever looked properly. She did not cry in the office. She thanked him, walked out, sat in the passenger seat beside Uchenna. Uchenna looked at her. Ngozi said, "It was never me." Uchenna closed her eyes. Then, "I know." Then Ngozi cried. Not the hollow, exhausted crying of 8 years. Something different, heavier and lighter at the same time. The way crying feels when it is finally about something real. She underwent the procedure, followed every instruction, prayed differently now, not desperately, but quietly, like a woman who had stopped begging and started trusting. 7 months later, she walked back into the compound and said nothing to anyone about what she had found. Adeze had delivered her 4th child while Ngozi was away, another girl. The celebration had been the quietest yet. The compound had begun to understand something without saying it directly. 6 weeks after returning, Ngozi missed her period. She tested alone in a chemist shop 3 streets away. 2 lines. Clear, immediate, undeniable. She walked home, stopped outside the gate, put her hand on her stomach for 1 moment, then went inside and made dinner. She told no one. She carried it alone for 11 weeks, through morning sickness disguised as busyness, through nights with both hands pressed gently on her stomach, speaking quietly to the person growing inside her that nobody else knew existed yet. At 12 weeks, she began to show, slightly, almost invisibly, but women notice. The house girl noticed first, then a compound woman whispered to another, then Adeze noticed. She went very quiet, watched Ngozi cross the compound from the kitchen window. That evening she called a friend. 40 minutes, door closed. The house girl mopping nearby heard fragments. At her age, cannot be natural. Witch doctor. Then Adeze prayed, loudly, through the wall, clearly enough to be heard. She asked God, pointedly, urgently, that if he was giving Ngozi a child, let it be a girl, because the son this family needed was hers to provide. She was the one appointed for it. Ngozi lay in the next room and heard every word. She turned off her lamp and went to sleep. At 6 months, she went to Enugu alone. She lay on the examination table while the doctor moved the probe across her stomach, studied the screen, made a note. Then he turned to her. "Mrs. Obi, would you like to know the gender?" "Yes," she said. He told her. She did not gasp. She did not move. She looked at the screen and tears fell from her eyes without any sound at all. She drove home in silence. She told no one. She carried the answer inside her and let it sit there, growing alongside everything else, because some truths are more powerful when they arrive on their own terms. Ngozi went into labor on a Wednesday morning. Chibuike drove her to Enugu. Uchenna was already there. Adeze was not informed until after they left. The labor lasted 9 hours. Chibuike sat in the corridor with his hands on his knees and did not move. He stared at the floor, the same way he had stared at floors for 9 years. But this time he was seeing clearly. He was seeing the night his uncle sat in the parlor, and he did not look up. The note she left. "I need time. I am safe." Every family gathering where he let her sit across the room. Every floor he chose over her face. He sat with all of it. The door opened. A nurse came out. "Mr. Chibuike, you can come in." He walked in. Ngozi on the bed, exhausted, face damp. Uchenna against the wall, tears running freely. A nurse nearby holding something small and white. The nurse placed the bundle in his arms. Small, red. One fist already curled near his face, as though he had arrived ready to fight. A son. 9 years, a son. Chibuike stood completely still, looked at the baby, looked at Ngozi, and something in him came apart, quietly, completely, a sound from somewhere below language. He walked to the bed. He knelt. He said, "Ngozi, I am sorry." She looked at him. 9 years of tired sitting plainly on her face. But her eyes were clear. She reached out and held his hand. She did not say it was fine. She did not perform forgiveness on his timeline. She held his hand, and for now, that was enough to build on. 3 days later, Ngozi came home. The car pulled through the gate and the compound stopped. House girls froze. Women appeared in doorways. Mama Chibuike stood at the entrance of the main house, leaning on the doorframe. Ngozi stepped out holding her son. Nobody spoke. Then Mama Chibuike walked forward, slowly. She reached out her hands. Ngozi placed the baby in them. The old woman's hands trembled. She looked at the boy's face for a long time. Then she said, quietly, not for anyone around her, just for God, "Forgive us." 2 weeks later, Adeze went into labor with her 5th child. The compound waited. The call came. Another girl. Adeze lay in that hospital bed and did not speak for the rest of the day. Her daughters were beautiful. Her daughters were innocent. But the weapon, the specific, sharpened, 9-year weapon of a child, a son, where is your son, now rested in Ngozi's arms. Some corrections do not need announcing. The naming ceremony was 8 days after the birth. Family from 3 states, food that overflowed, music, women dancing in the yard. Ngozi sat at the center of it all wearing yellow, a color she had kept folded in her wardrobe for years, waiting for a day that deserved it. Her son slept on her lap, fist curled against his cheek, unbothered by everything surrounding his arrival. Chibuike sat beside her, not across the room, beside her, where he should have been all along. An older woman leaned over and said softly, "Ngozi, you endured. We all saw how you endured." Ngozi looked at her son's face. She said, "I almost didn't, but God would not let me leave before the answer arrived." Adeze sat toward the back with her 5 daughters. Ngozi greeted her when she arrived, politely, without warmth, but without cruelty, because Ngozi was done carrying things that did not belong to her. Mama Chibuike began sitting in Ngozi's room in the evenings, holding the baby without being asked. She never spoke about the years. Ngozi never raised them. The silence between them was a different kind now. Not the silence of a woman being looked through. The silence of 2 people who understood that some things cannot be undone, only outlived. And the woman they called Barren. The woman repositioned like furniture. The woman who sat on a kitchen floor at 4:47 in the morning with pills in her hand and chose, in that small and enormous moment, to stay. That woman was now the mother of the only son in the compound. Her name is Ngozi, and the God she almost stopped believing in remembered her name. He always does. He just does not always answer on our timeline. If this story found you in a hard season, if you are somewhere that feels like that kitchen floor, do not leave before your answer arrives. Stay. Share this with someone who needs it. Subscribe to Voclane Stories. And tell us in the comments, what part of Ngozi's story stayed with you?